Let's look at some other words that might be fitting retirement. Emancipation. I'm free. I'm free to be me. That's one aspect of retiring, and that's a great one. And back to your return on investment, someone once called about maybe that's what it's all about. You know, you're investing in your independence, autonomy. That woman leaving the store and see you had that in mind. You know, she's in charge, and staying in charge, and living with a purpose. The two most important days of your life. I love this quote. I don't know who said it. It was something like Swedish, anonymous thing from Sweden. The two most important days of my life are the day I was born and the day I figured out why. Purpose is something we ought to be thinking about in our lives. Maybe purpose is something different from playing golf every day, year after year, or playing cards. So in the workshops that I have been conducting since I got shocked with that Edison thing, I've been in and out of doing some work with coaching, not facilitating, if you will, bringing groups like you guys together and starting up a conversation over here and over here and over there with 5 or 6 of you talking among yourselves and digging in some of these issues. Who am I? What gives meaning to my life? What about socializing? We didn't talk about that. Is there a benefit in working through life? You bet. I mean, that socializing, that poor guy at the Edison company tried to go back to the lunchroom after he'd retired, and all they said was, goodbye, nice to see you, we have to get back to work. That social contact is wonderful. And that's a basic part of work. What am I going to do with my time? Someone figured out that it doesn't take a long to figure it out. How many hours are there in a week? 168. If you divide that up into days, 24 hours times 7. So if you make a chart out, which he did, I did a bad job of doing one myself, and you look at that, now of course you're sleeping, hopefully, well through those days. So you got 120 some odd days net, 128 hours rather. Divide that up into 7 days. You got a lot of time to be doing something. How about we figure out something for you to do that's down here meaningful? Maybe leaving you a legacy. Maybe having some real thing that you discovered about yourself that you want. And what about income? Didn't talk about that, but the old adage of retirement being you save up and you go into retirement and you do something, you figure out what you want to do then. All the maps and so forth, and figure out who makes the best deal on breakfast arrangements for you traveling. How about reversing that and saying, I'm going to figure out what I want to do and prioritize, then figure out how I'm going to afford it. And that could be, as we said before, that you're going to have to downsize a little bit. Maybe move into a little, cut back on expenses, do what budgeting is all about. And because you want to, you'll be motivated because you're into something that's important to you, your emancipation, your autonomy, and living with a purpose. And maybe this should have been on top of the list. What about staying healthy? It's the key to everything we've been talking about. In the book, Life, and I would recommend it, and I do on my website, by the way, Life Reimagined. It's a very hot selling thing right now. ARP is making quite an effort to get this on the front of everyone's mind. And they're on their website, lifereimagined.org. They've got a whole program that takes you step by step. And this is something you've got in the program there on a Life Reimagined. What are the steps in a Life Reimagined? Reflect, connect, explore, choose, repack, act. Repack is something like, that's you look at what you've got, and do I need all this? One way or another, do I need all this baggage? Do I need all these commitments I've made to this and that I'm not happy with? And you and your spouse or your partner have to figure out what that does jointly. So these are things that need to be worked on over 6 months, maybe a year. Trial and error. But it's certainly worth the effort to take the first step. And the book and/or I have some workshops that I'm planning to do. And if any of you are interested, there's a card in there that we can schedule you into. You can look on my website and see when we start scheduling those. It's a whole new thing for me. I'm 80, right? For those of you that weren't here, I just turned 80 last Friday. And I'm still at it. And that's great, and that's kind of fun. I mean, I just started a website, just like Colonel Sanders, by the way, his picture up there. You may or may not like. I know, Russ, you don't like his chicken. I saw him once at a food convention in a wheelchair coming by, big smile. You're still in the business. So it can be done. At the end of the day, the only questions I will ask myself, did I love enough? Did I laugh enough? Did I make a difference? And that's how we'll leave it for now. Except for questions. We have some time, and I'm wide open for some conversation about this to the point where we can, before the band comes in and drowns us out. Any thoughts on what we're talking about? Any suspicions that I'm selling you a bill of goods that shouldn't be sold?
I'm going to give you the mic so everybody can hear your question.
Well, I'm aware of the importance of goals for people to do planning. It really keeps you alive. One of the difficulties, of course, has to do with losing our sight or losing our hearing and withdrawing into ourselves. Do you want to say a few words about that?
Well, some of that is inevitable. I mean, if you're going to put your retirement and yourself off in the future, you kind of expect maybe that's going to happen. So, in terms of financial management, it would be a matter of keeping enough money toward that end, because you're going to be dependent. You're not going to be able to work probably and earn a living unless you do something online or you start a business and hire the right people to write for it. There are ways to do it, but withdrawing is something that people are definitely inclined to do. And it's known, the studies on this idea of the retirement depression syndrome, that's a shrink kind of problem for either that or a marriage counselor, because that certainly enters in that picture as well. By the way, in Japan now, they've got a big issue. Spousal retirement depression syndrome. Talk about marry you for better or worse, or not for lunch. Japanese guys are kind of dominant, and they come in there all too often. It's a cultural thing. And they're scaring their wives to death that they're going to be around the house and telling them how to run. Yeah, you were running a business over here. Now you think you're going to run the way I do the kitchen thing and I manage the house? I want a divorce. And that's what they're doing. 60, I forget what the percentage was exactly, but a huge amount of post-65-year-old marriages, or people in that age category in Japan, are getting divorced. Plain out. Out of here. Women have been asserting their rights since back then in the 70s, and they're still doing it, and should. Any other questions?
So these are things that you help people with in your workshops?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Talk about
yeah. And in our workshops, we get into things. You'll see some questions that we didn't have time to do today in that packet. And that's just the kinds of things we do. Take a look at money. What does money mean to you? Where did you get that idea? Who taught you? How did your father and mother handle money? And what lessons did you learn, if any, one way or the other? Yeah, I could speak for a father who would take me out and buy me a ticket to a ball game or a ice cream cone with the last 48 cents or whatever he might have had in his pocket. That's kind of what I grew up on. Money is to spend and live and have fun and make your kids happy. But there's a whole list there for you to figure out what you think about money and what significance it has. Is it driving your life? What about work? What are your drivers in work? Look at that. Is it because you get applause? You get kind of great, high fives, and you know where you're going to do that? physicians are certainly categorized in that area. It's pretty hard for a guy or a woman who has that kind of authority, telling people what they could eat, what they should do with themselves, and stop doing that. Who out there is going to start listening to them? Are they going to work in the Walmart? I don't think so. So there's a lot of things to be considering, and we dig deeper than we ever could today into those things in my workshops. Well, on my website, by the way, you'll see it in the packet, yourbonusyears.com. That's moi. I've got links to these books, links to basically Amazon to get the book, and that's on the top of my reading choice list right now. But also, Life Reimagined, lifereimagined.org or arp.org now all have access to that. And not only get the book that way, but get the whole process of that we talked about. And there's ways to join in on that. In fact, I'm talking to ARP about doing some of their workshops. They're bringing people together as well.
Are you finding that that companies like Edison and others are reimagining the way they deal with their workforces to help us have those chopped up lives or not work full time in that way, so that we can embrace all of that?
Yeah, that idea of doing a little of this, a little of that, and the flex time and all the things.
Right.
Yeah.
Not many companies really allow that.
Well, more and more of them, because there's another one of those things that's taken a long time to figure out. But you take that big chunk of people, 76 million baby boomers, moving into that 65 plus arena, you don't have enough people down here coming in to replace them. There simply aren't. Demographically, we need those people. So it's not just, hey, consider how fun it would be to go to work again. They're going to be out looking for you. They're going to make a lot of accommodations for you. Oh, you want to, take Fridays off.
I'm not sure they are thinking creatively about it.
Well, not yet. No.
Right.
So that's another workshop. I got to get those guys together. Oh, well, it's been fun and a pleasure to be at the meeting. I'm one of you all, too, in terms of a member of the Community First, and loving it. And
Just want to tell you a line that I like. When you're a child, everybody asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? So when we get to be older, we should be asking ourselves, what do I want to be when I grow old?
Exactly. And put that maybe in a frame in the bathroom when you're shaving in the morning.
That's number 4 in your question. Who in your life has aged the way you would like to?
Yeah, start thinking in those terms. Who in your life has retired the way you would love to retire? All right.
Jay Bell.
Thank you.
Let's give a big round of applause to Jay Bell. Hey, thank you, you early birds. Thank you for coming. We appreciate this. First time we've done a seminar like this. Did you like it? Did you find it? Okay, some thumbs up. Any other subject matters? This man wants to learn about Bitcoin, right? Can anyone teach us about Bitcoin?